I'm excited. What I wanted to do with this Facebook Live was, number one, just to hang out. Just love, chatting with you guys and hearing how your running is going. And if you have any questions for me about your running, about strength running, about anything else that's going on, I'd be happy to help you. And in addition, I thought it might be kind of fun for me to share a little running story with you. Team strength running is what I consider, you guys are kind of in my circle, and I'm much more willing to share some of my more personal running stories from, when I was in college and high school and post-collegiate running and all the different stories that I have. So I was actually thinking, I was wondering, I have a story about a really embarrassing 5K that I ran as a freshman in college. The time where you kind of want to be impressing your new teammates, your new coach, and I very much did the opposite. And it is a somewhat embarrassing story, but I think it illustrates that principle of acceptance that you have to have when things aren't going well. And you don't necessarily have to get down on yourself, but you can very much approach it from a different perspective. And I think that approach is really the difference between staying motivated and not getting motivated and really just losing that drive to train really hard. So let me get started with this story. Feel free to comment, like this video if you want to. And if you do have questions for me while I'm talking through it, feel free to just comment away on it. And also, if you have any questions about the story itself, not just about your running, but about the story itself, leave them here and I'll clarify things for you. So let me paint the scene. It was 2007. I was a freshman at Connecticut College, and I had just come off of a pretty bad Achilles tendinopathy injury. I had spent summer break in Puerto Rico with the track team. We were just having too much fun and not really doing enough training, which was probably a good thing for me at the time because of my Achilles injury. But when we came back from the trip, we started practice, we had some first races, and it was very clear that I was just in really poor shape. Because of the injury, I wasn't able to train very much. This is probably a situation that a lot of runners find themselves in, right? You're signed up for a race, but then you get hurt and you're trying to make a comeback. And while you're healthy and able to run, you're just not prepared at all. You haven't done enough workouts, you haven't run enough mileage, and that'll really come back to bite you on the day of the race. And that's exactly what happened to me. We were at Springfield, I don't know if it was Springfield College or Springfield University up in Massachusetts, but we drove up from Connecticut, and and I remember thinking to myself, this 5K is just going to be terrible. I don't even know what I could run. At the time, I had run about 16:45 or so, but I had run 5 miles the previous cross-country season at almost the same pace. So I was very much thinking that I should be in PR shape based on my progression, based on where I was in the past, but it wasn't really in the cards because my fitness level was so low. But I knew I had it in me. So, nevertheless, I lined up. One of my friends, who's one of my best friends to this day, he leans over to me and he looks at me and he says, "Jason, I'm going to lap you before the second mile." And my friend is a lot better than me. And of course, this is just some good-natured trash talking. It can really motivate you and get you inspired and pumped up to run really hard. But we had a good laugh about it. And my only goal in this entire race was just to not let my friend lap me before the second mile. So we had 12 and a half laps on an outdoor track, and I just had to make it through 8 of them without him coming up on me. Now, my friend was a 14:53 5K athlete, really fast. And, he was about 2 minutes faster than me in the 5K. So the race starts, and I immediately feel like 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. I am really struggling. I'm on the struggle bus. I'm in the pain cave right from the start. And I remember at about halfway, it was about 1.5 miles, I'm running down the track. I'm running 10 seconds a lap slower than I should be. And my coach looks over at me and he goes, "Jason, do you want me to pull you from the race? Is something wrong?" And I look over at him and I remember the feeling of dejection that I had. It was this embarrassing feeling of just a loss of control. I just couldn't do anything about it. I looked at him and I said, "Coach, I'm fine. I just can't run any faster." And it was this moment where, he kind of smiled and was like, "All right, just do what you're going to do." And I kept struggling. I kept pushing. And I remember I'm on the 8th lap of this track, of this race. And I'm coming down the straightaway, right about to hit the 2-mile mark. And I start to hear commotion behind me. My friend is coming up on me. He's leading the race. He goes on to win the race. And he's coming up behind me. And I move over to the second lane, which is customary. It's good etiquette in outdoor track to move over, let the faster runners go by. And literally 5 meters before the 2-mile mark, my friend blows by me, goes on to win the race. He did exactly what he said he was going to do, and he lapped me by mile 2, like almost on the line, which was just perfect. And I went on to run about a minute slower than my personal best at the time, even though I was ready, based on my past history, to run a lot faster than that personal best. So it was a horrible race. But I think one of the reasons why I am still thinking about this race 13 years later as a positive is, number one, it's funny. We have to be able to laugh at our misfortune, at our failures. And the more I learn about sports psychology and how it affects your relationship to running, this is just so absolutely critical. These failures, these poor races, my friend lapping me and just embarrassing me in front of the whole team, we have to laugh about them because, it's not really a failure. It's a learning opportunity. And it just goes to show that you are nowhere near in PR shape if you're out of shape. You just cannot run as fast. And while you can rush training, while you can rush your comeback from an injury, the race results that you will post afterwards will really showcase the fact that you rushed the training and you probably aren't ready to even run that race. So that 5K is something that I don't think I'll ever forget. It's something that I joke around with my friend frequently about, just his prescience with telling me that he was going to lap me by mile 2, and then actually doing it was just perfect. And so, I went on to run almost a minute faster a year later. Now, actually, wait a minute. I ran a minute and a half faster a year later and had a great cross-country season because I actually rested after that outdoor track season. I got in control of my Achilles injury, I got healthy, and then I actually put in the time and the work to build a base, and then to have my upcoming cross-country season to race when I was actually in shape and ready to race. So I wasn't rushing things, and I did all the little things to actually make it happen. So I hope that story at least put a little smile on your face and made you feel better if you potentially had a really bad race, or even a workout or a long run or just an easy recovery run. Us runners have to recognize that feeling amazing and feeling great and knocking out a great race or workout, that's not going to happen all the time. And it's probably not going to happen a majority of the time. Those things are the rare bright spots in our racing that we are chasing. Those are the things that we want to experience. And sometimes you have to have 3 or 4 mediocre or poor workouts or races to have that one breakthrough, that one race where you feel amazing, where everything clicks, where you are psychologically ready to race, where you are physically ready to race, and you have that enormous breakthrough and run that huge PR. So just don't get too down on yourself if you're having any of these negative experiences like poor races or injuries. They happen to almost every runner fairly frequently. And the best runners, the runners that go on, not to win races, not the fastest runners, I mean the best runners, the runners that get the most out of themselves, the runners that can improve the most over time, are those runners that don't dwell on the negatives, that stay positive, laugh about their failures, and move forward. So I hope that little story was gave you a little bit of an insight or nugget into training, racing, and the mindset and mental approach to running.